I've come to view therapy as a conversational craft. You know, I was trained in graduate school. It's either a science, it's not. I mean, there's outcome research, but what you say next to your client does not come from science, right? And then in the Carl Whitaker tradition, we're artists. And that's great, but I'm actually a really bad artist in a lot of ways, if you ever looked at my art. The problem with the art, and of course there's artistry, but art can be for art's sake. A craft has a useful outcome. So you see my Bill thing here? This is Bill the Mechanic. How many of you listen to Click and Clack, the Tappet Brothers on NPR? So these are two guys who run a shop, and they do a radio interview. They're interpersonally skilled. They're mechanically skilled. I like to say that as therapists, if we aspire to be the click and clack of a conversational craft. Because our craft, our conversations are about repair. We're not just conversational artists with great repartee, okay? We're not the Andre Gregorys of the world, you know, My Dinner with Andre, but our conversation is for people who are in pain and people who want to feel better, people who want to function better in their lives. So I just invite you to just try on with me this idea, this metaphor, that what we are expert conversationalists with the goal of people repairing their lives. So what's involved in conversations? It's words, it's gestures, it's a whole bunch of nonverbals. It's when do we ask a question and when do we make a comment? My friend and colleague Jim Maddock always talked about pacing and leading. Pacing and leading in therapy as the two kind of master. We're either pacing with somebody, we're tracking, we're being empathic, we're paraphrasing back, we're nonverbally with them, or we're leading, we're going out somewhere. Okay? We're taking them somewhere. And the craft of successful therapeutic conversation, whatever your model, it comes down in part to when do you and how do you pace, and when do you and how do you lead. So as I've been watching puppy therapists beginning, what they do is a lot of pacing. So you're feeling frustrated with your mom. Yeah, she drives me crazy. She drives you crazy. Yeah. I wake up every day and I'm just mad at her. You're angry at her a lot. Okay? And you're listening to the tape. Could we lead here a little bit? Okay? Sort of the micro pacing. But then you get them in their second year when they've learned some models. And then they say something like, after listening a little bit, they say, well, have you considered the possibility that your mother has had a hard life? Before you have paced enough, right? Before you have listened enough to somebody's complaint and their pain, if you give them your bold insight, which you got from your consultation group, those are dangerous for crafts. Dangerous, okay? Because they're not in the conversation. And so somebody in your consultation group says, have you got into her empathy for her mother's own life? Oh, no, I haven't gone there. So you go into the session and you wait, and she once more comes out with another complaint about her mother, and then you spring it. And you say, have you considered the possibility that she has had a hard life? Then what you get back is the grinding of the gears, which comes in the form of yes, but. So what you hear back is, yes, but she didn't have to inflict it on me. Then what do? Well, then you can either back up, which you should do, and pace some more. Yeah, it really isn't fair that she left it on you to tell me more. Or you double down. What makes it so hard for you to think about your mother's own pain? Now you're in the doo-doo. You're in the doo-doo. You have just opened up the engine and oil is spilling out. And you have to repair it on your own dime because you broke it, okay? Gerald Patterson and his group at the Oregon Social Learning Institute did a very brave thing once. They took 100 of their failure cases, most of us don't admit we had that many, And they compared them to successful cases. They had videotapes of the first sessions, and they did micro-coding of the interactions between the therapists. This was parent training, the therapists and the parents. And their leading predictor of failure was yes, but, going back and forth, okay? When the clients were saying yes, but in various forms, it meant that the therapist wasn't pacing them in the conversation. And then when the therapist said yes, but, all the lights go off. It's all over. You just might say, well, folks, let's cash it in for the day. But have you ever felt the impulse to say yes, but? Don't you realize how smart the last thing I said was? And so paying attention to the flow of the conversation, and whenever I hear yes, but from a client, it's on me. It was my fault, okay? So I go, oh, let me back up here, because I have clearly not paced, I've not engaged enough.